Hi, I'm Carl Johnson, and this is Making News Apps with the THANG Stack. About me, I'm the Director of Technology at Spotlight PA. We are a nonprofit newsroom dedicated to producing nonpartisan investigative journalism about Pennsylvania government and urgent statewide issues. You can read my writing at carlmjohnson.net or follow me on GitHub and Twitter. So what is the THANG Stack? Before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit about the LAMP stack. The LAMP stack was the original stack. In the early 2000s, people noticed just organically that many websites were being created with a base of the Linux operating system, Apache as the web server, MySQL as its database, and then PHP for the server-side interactions. So somebody coined the term LAMP stack to describe this, and then that became sort of a popular meme. People experimented with other kinds of stacks where you say switch out Apache for Nginx, or switch out MySQL for Postgres, or switch out PHP for Ruby on Rails or Django. So there were a lot of different stacks thrown about over the years. More recently, Netlify popularized the idea of Jamstack. And the idea here is that you have a static website, but then you make it interactive by using JavaScript and APIs so that the website receives any sort of interactions it needs by reaching out to those APIs with JavaScript calls. So THANG Stack, this is a sort of idea I had to describe the websites that I was making. I realized that I was making a lot of websites in the same way. So of course I had to tweet about it. That's what Twitter's for. What is THANG Stack? THANG Stack is Tailwind CSS, Hugo, the blog engine, Alpine.js, Netlify, and Go. So I think if you're watching this video from the HugoConf, you're probably familiar with Hugo. It's a static site generator that specializes in data-driven templates, and it's very fast. Tailwind CSS is a way of writing CSS by just sprinkling some classes into your HTML, and then Tailwind will expand that out into a full CSS declaration. Alpine.js is a relatively new JavaScript framework that lets you just add a little bit of interactivity to your site without adding a lot of JavaScript onto the wire. Just really for under 100 kilobytes, you can get a whole site going and doing the things you want. Netlify is a host mentioned before. They specialize in hosting static websites, but they also provide a lot of different APIs and ways of letting you run serverless functions so that those times when you do need to have some server-side rendering, it's possible. And then Go is a programming language, which I've really enjoyed. It's what Hugo has written in, and it lets me write little command line applications and utilities quickly that very easily get done the jobs I need to get done. So my journey to THANG Stack began in 2016 when I rewrote my personal blog in Hugo. At that time, Hugo was not anything as advanced as it is today. It didn't have image resizing. It didn't have automatic JavaScript concatenation and asset management. It was just, it's been really gratifying watching Hugo grow over the years to get all these capabilities that we used to have to do by hand. Now it's all just built into Hugo. So the first time I used the THANG Stack in a more sort of professional capacity was when I was at the Baltimore Sun. At that point, we needed to do a voter guide, and we needed to have live blogging of the election results. And I realized that the best way to do it would be to just take Hugo, use that to create all the different pages for the various candidates, use a little bit of Go scripting to get the live information on the election results from the Board of Elections, the Maryland Board of Elections, and then tie it all together by sending it to S3. And that website is still online because, of course, the advantage of static hosting is that it's super cheap. So there's no one, even at the penny pinchers at Tribune, none of them are going to look and find that 2 cents per month bill to S3 for the Baltimore Sun and pull it. They're just going to let it, I think, go until they finally shut the Sun down altogether. So for the last several years, I've been working for Spotlight PA. Spotlight PA has really been where I've totally embraced the THANG Stack from top to bottom. Here you can see one of Spotlight PA's article pages. These pages are styled using Tailwind CSS. The engine for Spotlight PA is, of course, Hugo, and all of our code is available online at GitHub. So if you want to see an example of a sort of large Hugo site, you can. We host on Netlify. We have interactive widgets using Alpine.js. And there are little Go programs running in the background that do things like collect email addresses, make sure they get sent to the right newsletters, show us what stories are most popular, and just do any sort of various backend processing tasks that need to happen in terms of putting stories onto the site at the right time and things like that. I've also been using THANG Stack for side projects of Spotlight PA. One of them is our diverse source database. So if you just think about it, you might say, well, this is a database. You can't do that with static hosting with Hugo, because then how would people be able to search? And the answer is that Algolia is a search indexer. They receive all the information from the website. And then just using Alpine.js, we make a call out to their API, and it can bring back, when you put in the name of an expertise you want to get, it can send you back a list of all the experts who have that expertise. So even though it is a static website, it can have interactive search. Another website that we made for Spotlight PA is our redistricting map. This is a very interesting one because it's more server rendered and less than you might think. So for this map, the actual map files, of course, are static, and the information about the different districts is static. But when you put in your address, we have to go to Google Maps, find out where exactly your address is in the state, put a pin there, and then correlate it to the districts before and after. So there's just a small Go server-side program that runs in Netlify. It takes those requests, sends back the information, and then everything else is handled by Hugo using Alpine as the interactive manager. So why use the THANG Stack? In my experience, it's been extremely low cost. Often these sites will run for no money or very little. It's maintainable. I've been doing Spotlight PA for the last 3 years, and I haven't had any serious problems that I couldn't overcome so far. It's been very easy to deploy. We have deploy previews. Because of the deploy previews, it's very easy to share with colleagues work that I'm working on and show them how it's coming along and get their feedback. The development cycle is very quick. So in the news business, of course, we try to get things done on time, on deadline, as they say. And it's been very good for that. The performance is quite good. So compared to, let's say, sites that are very heavy on JavaScript, this loads quite quickly because there's not a ton of stuff coming down the wire. The Tailwind Css compresses down to just a few dozen kilobytes, and then Alpine.js is quite small itself. So it's common for sites that I make to load in under a second on a good connection. But they nevertheless have a very modern web look and feel. It doesn't seem like some ancient handcrafted page from the early 2000s. It looks very up to date, and I think it's all possible because of the THANG Stack. So thanks for listening to my talk, and I hope that you give it a try yourself.